And so I thank you for indulging me in that quick commercial. I want to thank Dr. Brown for allowing me to present to you all today, and thank Earl Pace, one of the founder of the organization, for being here and listening to my lessons that are really all about innovation. So I want to start with a question, and we can answer it, or I can make it a rhetorical question. So let me actually ask you, just throw out a word. How would you define innovation? A word that comes to mind when I say innovation. Creativity? Mike to Fernando? Oh, I'm sorry. Other thoughts? Future. There's a million different definitions out there for innovation. Some of you are still in school. You might be taking in your MBA courses, your technology courses. Whoever you ask will have a different definition. It's usually around something new, generally most definitions tend to revolve around technology innovation, introduce something as if new, to affect a change. It might be about a different process, something different, something that has an impact. There's as many definitions of innovation as there are professors and teachers out there in the universe. Let's decide, for the purposes of this next 15-ish minutes for our discussion, that our definition of innovation will be the creation of something new or the improvement of something that already exists. Is that fair? The creation of something new or the improvement of something that already exists. So let's think for a minute about why innovation is so important, especially given the timing right now. I think that we spend a lot of time in our day-to-day jobs thinking about innovating for our employers, innovating for our companies, and not innovating to create something that is uniquely ours, that will outlive our corporations. You know, the average lifespan of a corporation is about 40, 50 years. I'm 42 years old. I'll admit I'm older than many of you, younger than some of you. And I guess that makes me about past halfway through my lifespan. Probably expected to live about 74, 75 years. That's the average African-American male. So it means I'm past my half point in my lifespan. Some might call me a young professional, but really I'm more than halfway through my journey. But even with that, I've outlived many corporations. The corporations that you work for may not be around when you pass on many years later. They're very dynamic. It's a very dynamic environment. And to illustrate this, I chose the year 1955. That was the year my mom's family, she was born in 1949. They moved to Seattle, Washington, about 55 time frame. There was a lot going on in business in 55. So I said, who were in the top 500 Fortune companies in 1955? And came up with many of these. And there's some groupings there. There's some things they have in common. Was anybody around in 1955? You don't have to admit if you don't want to. A few of you, right? That Group A, American Motors, Studebaker, Maytag, National Sugar Refining Company, those are all companies that were on the Fortune 50 in 1955 and no longer exist and haven't existed in a long time. That second group, Boeing, Chicken Noodle Soup, Campbell's Soup, and IBM, those are three of the rare companies that were on the Fortune 500 in 1955 that are still around today. And that Group C, HP, eBay, Microsoft, Yahoo, those are companies that were not on the Fortune 500 back in those days, and many of them didn't even exist. So just think about the fact that our organizations that we work for are very dynamic. We should be focused not so much on our organizations, and we have to. We have to keep those who pay us happy and continue to innovate in meaningful ways. But I want you to think today about how to innovate in a way that creates a meaningful impact, but also a lasting impact for yourself. And so to do that, we're going to talk through very quickly types of innovation, what we mean when we say meaningful innovation, and then there's going to be a call to action for each of you. Again, I'm trying to change the way you think. So stick with me again. Smile and nod, smile and nod, smile and nod. Let's start with types of innovation. The first, and there's many different types of innovation. These are just three according to Brian. I'm not an innovation expert by any means. I'm a fan of innovation and a practitioner of innovative practices. And these are three types that I think we all as IT practitioners or future IT professionals should be aware of. So we'll begin with incremental innovation. This is something all of us do all the time. This is simply incremental improvements, step changes versus the current status. And some examples would be just technology generally, right? Incremental innovation is one new pad versus the last generation of the pad. It's the iPhone 4 has incremental improvements over the iPhone 3. Maybe front-facing camera, higher resolution, something like that. Small step changes, right? Does anyone have teenage kids in the room who are gamers? So if you have gamers, then you know incremental innovation. It's the reason you have to buy the PS4 before you stop making the payments on the PS3. You always have these incremental improvements in the marketplace that drive consumers. And it's not just in technology, it's also in consumer products. There's some people in the room from Procter & Gamble, I believe. So consumer products know this very well. Companies like Gillette, like Procter & Gamble, know that they sort of manufacture this, and most of us men in the room know that 4 blades are better than 3 blades or better than 2 blades, right? Whether it's true or not, these are incremental innovations, these small step changes from a current status quo. And again, this is something that we all, as IT professionals, do all the time. It's natural, it's inherent in what we do. But beyond that is a more extreme type of innovation, which you're probably familiar with as well. It's called disruptive innovation, right? This is the types of changes that the market doesn't expect. They're more intense. So much so that they might make existing companies into dinosaurs, put them out of business, and make new companies, new entrants and leaders in the market. I want to take a diversion for a little bit and talk about being an experience provider. Because disruptive innovation is not just about a product or a new piece of software. You can innovate in the way you serve your customers. And remember, I said I want you to change the way you think. I'd like for you to leave this room thinking of yourself as an experience provider, an innovation experience provider, not a programmer, not a hardware technician, an experience provider. Because no matter what we do, we're working to provide experience for those who we work for and those we work with. Is that fair? So to illustrate that, I'm going to ask you about how much a cup of coffee costs. I think a lot of you are working on your coffee right now, so let's talk about coffee for a moment. How much does a cup of coffee cost? Now, when I was young, many years ago, there was a TV commercial on TV for a coffee company. And it was this guy, Juan Valdez. Do you remember Juan Valdez in the hills of Colombia picking the coffee beans, right? With great pride, great product. And he'd take the coffee beans and put them in his bag. And so, at that point in the supply chain, that coffee, that cup of coffee, it's a good, right? It's a very low end, it's a commodity. It's at the very low end of the supply chain. At that point, it might be worth maybe 5, 6 cents a cup. And then you move that up the supply chain, you process that, you refine it, you sell it in the store on the shelves in the can of the grounds. At that point, it becomes a product. It might be worth maybe 15, 16 cents a cup. Take it a little bit farther, you sell that same cup of coffee in a mom and pop coffee shop or somewhere here in the hotel. Maybe it's worth 75 cents a cup. But if you take that same cup of coffee and you sell it in a store with jazz music piping through the speakers, with leather chairs, with free Wi-Fi, with really cool, trendy people hanging around, right? You know what I'm talking about? That's a Starbucks example, right? At that point, you can, depending on what your cup of coffee is, that could be $7, $8, $9, $10. Mine, I'm very simple. I'm just black coffee. But if you're half double decaffeinated, half calf, with it, you can be very expensive. And we're so willing to pay for that experience that we even pay for it, at least here in the U.S., where we have drive-thrus. We pay for it even if we don't get the experience. We'll pay just to hold that cup, we'll drive through, pay that high price for the experience, even if we're not getting the experience. Starbucks is very good at being an experience provider. They're not selling you coffee, they're selling you an experience, right? In fact, they're so good at this, they've realized, if you talk to people who work for Starbucks, they say, their goal is to become the 3rd place in their customers' lives. What's the 1st place in your life? You probably spend the majority of your life at work. And then the 2nd is you're at home. Well, Starbucks is working to become that 3rd place, and they do a wonderful job of that by becoming experience providers. Think about how you could do that in your business. Think about the people who you work for and why they want to work for you. Is it because you're a great coder, or is it because you provide some experience? Think about how you can apply that in the work that you do. It used to be the rule was, well,